Welcome into One of One Sports. We have a huge weekend of college football coming up, especially in the SEC. We got Bama, Tennessee. We got Texas, Georgia. We're going to break it all down. But first, a recap of how we're doing this year. So our overall record is 46-23, and we are so close to a perfect week in our game breakdowns. We went 4-1 to improve to 27-8. Ole Miss cost us that they lead. There was not a second of the game which LSU led. 0 seconds of leading, and yet they win the game and ruin our perfect week. Ridiculous. But it was still a very solid week. Winning week, of course. And now for this week's games, starting with the notable games that we're not giving a breakdown for. First up, want to highlight Indiana over Nebraska. Maybe should have given this one a breakdown. Really considered it. Indiana's been really good, still undefeated. And Nebraska's been really good too. They just lost that overtime game to Illinois. So two really good teams fighting on Big Noon. I think it's going to be a really tight game. Ultimately, I think Indiana, they've just been finding ways to win games. I really like their coach. Rourke's been playing really well, and they're at home. So a lot of advantages there. I think Nebraska will give a really tough competition, but I'm going Indiana. Slight lean there. Second, I'm going to have Notre Dame over Georgia Tech. And this one, I actually switched. I really thought coming into this, I was expecting to pick Georgia Tech. But the way they struggled against North Carolina, and I don't know how healthy Haynes King's going to be. And if he is fully healthy, or even if he plays, will he be fully healthy and have it, be as good as he possibly can be? Because I do think he'll have to play well for Georgia Tech to win. And then Notre Dame, they've also been plagued by injuries. Benjamin Morrison out. So it's a high alert for me to see an upset. And I was actually going to pick it, just flip to Notre Dame before making this video. Third, I have South Carolina defeating Oklahoma, and I'm just out on Oklahoma. Too many injuries. The offense is just so bad. I feel like they've just been handling everything really poorly there. How they handled the Jackson Arnold situation, I wasn't a fan. And South Carolina to me feels like a team that's actually, I think, a really good team. Not really good, but pretty good. And I think they're the edge South Carolina has with their edge rushers. So Kennard and Dylan Stewart, I think, are going to, pretty much tear apart that Oklahoma O-line. So I don't expect Oklahoma to produce many points here. And although their defense, I think, can limit South Carolina, I think Lenore Sellers will have a bounce-back game to do enough to get the win. Fourth, I got Arizona over Colorado. If you've been following my picks, I've been struggling with these Arizona picks past couple weeks. We started off good, because I am an Arizona fan, but I picked them to lose to Kansas State, but then I picked them to beat Utah, so I was on a roll. I was getting them right. But now I picked them to beat Texas Tech and Brigham Young. They lost both, unfortunately. But I think this the week they're gonna figure it out. But it's tough. Colorado's a really good team. I know a lot of people don't like them, but they're better than I thought they were a couple weeks ago. So Fafita's got to step up. He has not been playing nearly as well as he did last year. That's got to change to win this game because we know Colorado can put up points. I think he's going to do it. I'm excited to see if there's some Travis Hunter McMillan matchups. That'll be really fun to watch. Something I'm looking out for, assuming Travis Hunter is going to play. And then the final one is Kansas State over West Virginia. I look at Kansas State and I look at West Virginia, right? And I see Iowa State was just able to win in West Virginia. I think Kansas State can, kind of reproduce what Iowa State did. Now, that being said, Kansas State almost just lost to Colorado in a game they really should have been able to win considering the injuries Colorado had. But Kansas State, I really like their run game. I like how their quarterback's playing right now. I expect them to be in the Big 12 championship, and I think they're going to get this win. Now I'll get into the game breakdowns. First one I have is Miami at Louisville. So getting into the keys to the game, and I think the first one is just about, has Miami learned their lesson, or is this just who they are, right? We saw Virginia Tech take them down to the wire. We saw them fall behind at Cal and it go down to the wire. Now, were those inferior opponents that Miami just wasn't fully locked in for? Or is that just, the caliber of Team Miami is, and that's how they're going to the level they're going to be on the rest of the season? I think they're better than that. And if they are, at some point, I think they're going to start giving, B+ to A performances week in and week out, whereas I think they gave, maybe C performances the past couple of weeks. My second key to the game is going to be explosive plays, though. This Louisville defense has allowed a lot in passing yards. People played well against them, and Cam Ward throws for at least 300 yards every game. Expect him to do it again. But even on the other side, Miami's secondary and defense has been allowing big plays. We saw it in the Cal game. And Louisville with Tyler Shuck and Ja'Cory Brooks, I think, is positioned to make big plays as well. I expect to see some really long touchdowns in this game. I think it should be exciting to watch. Whoever can make more, well, I wouldn't say will win the game because, you'll see in a second why. Then this Miami pass rush, and along with that, I'll put up the Louisville D-line because I think Louisville's D-line and Miami's pass rush, kind of this different line of scrimmage matchup. If Miami's pass rush, and this is really on the season as a whole for Miami, if the pass rush can step up with Ruben Bain coming back, Tyler Barron, Ruben Bain, and be creating havoc, they could, step up from just an ACC contender to maybe like a national title contender. And on the other side, their O-line for Miami is so good that the Louisville D-line has to play one of their best games, give a A-plus performance to cause some disruption there. So who am I picking? I'm taking Miami. This is a team I think is going to elevate coming off the bye. I think we're going to see an improved pass rush, which will improve their defense as a whole, giving opposing quarterbacks less time. And I think we've already seen how good the offense can be and Cam Ward can be. I think it continues, and I've got Miami winning 38-28. Not a blowout, but they're only favored by 4, and I think Louisville's a good team who's at home. So I think this will be a good win for Miami, and I think they're going to get the win. Second game we're predicting, and probably the second biggest game of the weekend, and that is Alabama-Tennessee. That's how you know we're in the middle of October, right? Keys to the game. First one's going to be time of possession. I think this is so huge for this game because if you look at Tennessee, one, their offense has really struggled. Back-to-back games where they scored 0 points in the first half. But then you look at when they do get it going, typically they like to play pretty fast, right? And they can lose time of possession. But the thing with Alabama is they can get in a shootout, but what's been causing problems is in the South Carolina game as well as in the Vanderbilt game, their defense was just on the field forever, and I don't know if Tennessee's going to have those kind of long drives that keeps Jalen Milroe off the field. So that's why time of possession, I think, is huge here, because if Tennessee's playing fast and gets it rolling, because we know Alabama's defense is vulnerable, I think that still is fine with Alabama to get into a shootout. I think it's the ball control style Alabama doesn't want to see. Then who can fix their problems? We've seen the past 2 weeks. It's going to come up all over the place, right? Tennessee against Florida, Tennessee against Arkansas, a loss, and then a near upset, and the same with Bama. Loss to Vanderbilt, then near upset to South Carolina. So who's going to improve? Is Nico going to play better for Tennessee? Is Alabama defense going to play better? Is coaching going to be better? Is Tennessee going to take more easy plays to improve the offense? Because, Alabama's defense has really struggled. Tennessee's offense has really struggled. Who's going to improve on those sides of the ball? And then third, it's going to be Jalen Milroe, because we've seen the super high highs, right? You watched first half against Georgia. You couldn't tell me after that Jalen Milroe is not the best player in the country. That's how good he was. He looked so like the best athlete. He was so fast, getting away from people, making big throws. But then against South Carolina, he wasn't bad per se, but there's just couple of interceptions, questionable plays, holding the ball too long that you don't want to see, especially when the defense is struggling. You need Jalen Milroe to be peak Jalen Milroe. That's why he's the key to the game. And finally, the Alabama secondary versus Nico, because the secondary, it struggled a little bit, and it's gettable. But Nico has also struggled quite a bit, and if he can play how he did against the easier competition, right? Then Tennessee can make plays against this Alabama secondary and have a good day offensively. So who am I taking? I think Alabama's about a 1.5 point favorite, so pretty tight game. I'm just higher on Alabama than most people, and I'm lower on Tennessee. I've been low on Tennessee all year. Even when they were beating Oklahoma and NC State, I still didn't like Tennessee. And part of the reason is I thought their defense was being overrated. Now I'm actually not sure that was. This will be a good test for that, actually, to see how good that secondary really is. But yeah, I've just been lower on Tennessee, higher on Bama still, and I'm going Alabama to win it 38-24. Maybe I'm just too confident, but I like Bama here, and a pretty big win. Third game, and that's the Michigan Wolverines taking on Illinois in what I believe is actually a top 25 matchup. Our keys to the game, it's going to be about the Illinois run defense. We know what Michigan wants to do. They want to run the ball. They want Kalel Mullings, keep carrying it, carry them to victory. Donovan Edwards, get in there a little bit. And Illinois got to hold up and run defense. Otherwise, Michigan will win the game. It's just simple as that. Then, of course, another obvious one. Michigan quarterback play. It's been a problem all year. I don't know if it's going to be Jack Tuttle. I think it is. It could be Jack Tuttle. He could be subbed out. They could put in Alex Orji, maybe for some QB run elements, which Purdue used effectively on Illinois. Maybe Davis Warren comes back in. I don't know. But the quarterbacks have been bad. And if they could just get average quarterback play, I mean, I think they are set up to be a much better team than they have been and set up to win this game. Then the Illinois O-line, because you look at Josiah Stewart, what he can do. You look at Kenneth Grant. You look at Mason Graham. They can definitely cause problems in the same way Penn State caused problems for Illinois, and the offense of Illinois was just shut down. Illinois' got to avoid that happening again, and for them to do that, the O-line has to play very, very well. Hand in hand with that, it's the passing attack, right? Michigan, outside of Will Johnson's gettable in the secondary, but if there's not time for Altmaier, it's not really going to matter. So who am I taking? This one, not too difficult for me. I think Michigan still has a significant talent gap between them and Illinois. I think they're going to be more physical, especially on the line of scrimmage, and I expect them to win 24-13. Another big game in the SEC, it's LSU-Arkansas, not a top 25 game, but that caliber of matchup. We know Arkansas is a good team, right? Beat Tennessee, hung in there with A&M, so we know it's a good game. For a keys to the game, first one I want to talk about is this LSU letdown spot. So last week, LSU, huge scheduling advantage against Ole Miss. Ole Miss playing 7th straight game, LSU off a bye and at home. And now we get kind of the flip side, right? LSU coming off a really big emotional win, the field storm and everything, primed for a letdown spot on the road with Arkansas coming off a bye, right? Then Arkansas efficiency, and I'm talking about like capitalizing on opportunities. In the Tennessee game, yes, Arkansas still won, but they could have been in a lot greater control of the game if they maximized opportunities early, avoid turnovers, finish drives, that kind of thing. Then Landon Jackson versus these LSU tackles, I think it's going to be so fun to watch. We saw how disruptive he was against Tennessee, causing a lot of problems for Nico. But LSU's O-line, totally different monster. Will Campbell and Jones, they don't lose very often, and Landon Jackson is the caliber of player that could give them some trouble. But I don't think, he's not going to win every time, so it's certainly going to be different for him in that regards. But it'll be interesting to see how disruptive he can really be against these elite tackles for LSU, especially in the passing game. And then Nussmeier versus Taylor Green. And then really key to note, is Taylor Green fully healthy? Because if he's not, that really throws off my prediction here. Just for the record, if Taylor Green's healthy, well, I'll just go to the next slide here, because I think Arkansas is going to win this game. I've got him 26-23, but this assumes a fully healthy Taylor Green, who I think is going to have a big game. I think this is a good spot for Arkansas, but if Taylor Green's not playing or is not fully healthy and not mobile at all, LSU is my prediction, just for the record. But yeah, I'm going with Arkansas. Our final game prediction, it's the main event. It's Georgia, Texas. What is this, 1 versus 5, I want to say? For the keys to the game, first I want to talk about this Texas defense and this adjustment they're going to have to face. Because right now, they're ranked the number 1 defense. But who are the best teams they played? Michigan, maybe the worst offense in the Power 4. Oklahoma, maybe the worst offense in the Power 4. So they have not been challenged. But Georgia is, maybe not an elite offense, but at the very least, very, very good. Carson Beck just threw for over 450 yards. We know they got weapons, maybe not as good as they have in the past, but still better weapons, and of course a better offense than what Texas has seen this year. So it'll be interesting to see how good this Texas defense looks against a really good offense. And then this Georgia defense, they're not good, especially compared to Georgia teams of the past. But right now, you allow 31 to Mississippi State, which is way too much. You get torched by Bama. And the first couple weeks, they looked good. They completely limited Clemson. Kentucky didn't do much against them. But since then, they have not looked very good. And Texas has the best offense. Well, maybe you could argue Alabama and Texas, I guess. But probably the best offense Georgia's seen this year. Going to be this weekend with all those weapons Texas has and the great play calling. So whoever wins the defensive battle here, I think, puts themselves in a really good position to win the game. Then you can't talk about this game without talking about Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers, 2 of the biggest names in college football, 2 of the highest profile quarterbacks, and both capable of having great games. And if one of them gives a A+ performance, they could certainly win a game for their team. I think Beck probably has to do it more than Ewers has to do it, because I think Ewers has more help surrounding him this year, which is weird to say when a team's facing Georgia, but I think that is the case. But certainly both capable of going out, having a great game, winning their team a game. And then finally, it's the line of scrimmage because, Texas has been really good on the O-line, really good on the D-line. Georgia struggled a bit on the O-line and doesn't have the D-line they've had in the past. So, I mean, Texas, on paper, I think they're better at the line of scrimmage, better on skill position. Probably better in the secondary. They've been better across the board. And on paper, at home, they should win this game. I mean, they just should. But it's been a strange year. We've seen a lot of weird things happen. So I don't have a great reasoning for it. But I think Carson Beck's going to have the best game he's played so far this year, or at least, up there. And I think Georgia's actually going to win on the road 30-27. It doesn't make sense on paper, but I think it's going to happen. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's my final prediction. Let me know who you guys have winning these games. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all with the game analysis after these games happen. Until next time.